Well, it is just 2 days before we do celebrate the 28th coronation of the King of Uganda, Ronald Muwenda Mutebi. Now, that is also a stone mark in the history of this country in relation to culture, traditions, and how much we embrace who we are, but also how much we're not willing to forget where we came from. Good morning to you all. It is Good Morning Uganda, and we're here to give you exactly what you've been waiting for. And with me is Priscilla Robert as well. Good morning, Priscilla.
Good morning to you, Felix, and good morning to you, Uganda. Thank you so much for joining us Thursday as we are having literally the second last day of lockdown is here, and now we can count officially 48 hours to the end of lockdown. Quite exciting. My name is Priscilla Nalwooga, and get ready for some interesting conversations here on Good Morning Uganda for the next 2.5 hours. Are going to be, mind engaging. And of course, when you talk about mind engaging, I saw the way you people responded and engaged us yesterday. It was very, very nice. We hope that you continue to engage with us this morning as we look at domestic affairs, international affairs, all in an interesting way here on Good Morning Uganda. Good morning to you, Robert.
Good morning, Priscilla.
How are you?
I'm very fine. I must say I love your top.
Thank you very much.
You look gorgeous this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I hope Felix, equally Felix, you look good this morning. And of course, everybody who has woken up with us, thank you so much for making us a television of your choice. We appreciate and we promise to keep you updated with what is happening both locally and internationally. I want to tell you that yes, by the grace of God, we've come this far. You've gone through a lot, and you can still go through anything that comes your way. The most important thing is staying alive, perfecting the soaps, and ensuring that you live to tell a tale. That's why you never get tired of reminding you that COVID is around, but it is something we know how it spread, we know how to avoid it, and the good news is, if detected early, we have treatment here in this country that you can survive. For many have, and a few have lost their lives. Good morning once again.
Well, now, of course, Robert, having said that about COVID, we don't also tire to come and remind you that in as much as all that has happened, we've been in lockdown, but guess what? Today marks the very, very last day of the 42 days that the President of Uganda had given for us to kuhunama, as he calls it, and listen and be able to know where to run and probably how to run. But the expectation is that the 42 days have given us a much better trajectory in terms of decision on how we will handle COVID-19. As we do end COVID-19, a lot of questions in our minds, lots of things to learn, a lot of things to appreciate, but also we get back to the drawing board and re-understand our purpose in life, and that's key for me. I don't know anything particular that you would want to give as a message, Robert and Priscilla, as we end the 42 days.
For me, I'll just call upon acts of kindness, love, and care. Reason being, many people during this time of COVID-19, and I want to assure you, even this is science-based, many people have developed psychological problems. Many people are depressed, some are stressed, and all they need is that regular call. All they need is you checking on them. Good words, let's not be harsh to people, but also an act of giving, because some people are so proud to come and confess the situation is not that very good. But if you extend that act, why would you throw food because you have surplus? Yet there is a neighbor who may not be having. So for me, that is the message to people.
All right, there's a small story about the rat and the cheese. This rat knew the cheese would always be in a particular place, but this one time the cheese was moved to another place, and the rat kept going to that place where it formerly was, and they kept going there over and over again, until another rat one day found the first rat and asked him, "But why do you keep going there? The cheese moved." And that was like, "No, but I've always found it here." Like, "No, but you might have to sniff around and find where it is, the new location of the cheese." But the other rat was they did not want to change or to adapt to the change that had come through. The book is called Who Moved My Cheese? If you can download it, it could be a good read for you in this season, because I know there's a lot of change that has come with COVID-19, the pandemic. There's so many things that you have to adapt to, most especially for people in business. Do not fail yourself by not adapting to it. It's something that happened to what's that phone company? Nokia. Yes, when smartphones had come, and you know, they were the ones that were pitched the idea first, but they were slow to respond, and then Samsung came and just flew right over the biggest phone company at that time. So if you delay in making that adaptation leap, you might be left behind. So allow change to change you.
Well, speaking of change, we will also change to yesterday's stories, that is in local news, and then of course we will also be looking at international stories.
And we will begin with the call to fight corruption for all those that are chairing committees of parliament. That is the government chief whip told parliament yesterday as he was addressing, that is, heads and members of different committees, that they should not engage in corruption. Government Chief Whip Thomas Tayeba said corruption tendencies will not be tolerated. Aware that committees bring together members from different political parties, he also urged them to desist from internal fights. He said they are aware that there are tendencies of corruption, sometimes in committees as they execute their work, but said once found, they will be named, they will be ashamed and lose their posts. He said he will ensure he communicates this the appointing officer in case any form of corruption is detected during their line of duty. This was echoing the words of President Yoweri Museveni while he was addressing the State of Nation to Parliament last month at Kololo Independence Grounds, where President Museveni decried the increasing tendencies of corruption in government and cited parliamentary committees among the culprits.
This very same week that started on the 25th and will end on the 21st of July 2021 is projected to record a total of 2,158 new cases of COVID-19. This figure is likely to increase to 2,353 in the following week, starting from 1st to 7th August this very same year. This, according to National Planning Authority COVID-19 projection model. Internal factors continue to be dominant contributors of new cases in the country. The increase or decrease in the figures will be dependent on containment measures taken in the next 28 days. This projection raises concerns on which direction Uganda should take after the 42 days of lockdown nearing an end. On Tuesday, a section of members of parliament and some social activists expressed divergent views on what government should do after 42 days. So, as the president comes to speak to the country tomorrow, will it be full opening, partial relaxation, or extended lockdown? A question only the president can answer.
Away from the lockdown, now a thief always has 40 days according to the Bible. And this is what happened to a group of two who are attempting to waylay a medical doctor aboard a motorbike which collapsed on its weight in Kampala suburb. This time round, the vigilant residents had read the movement of the suspected thugs like the biblical proverb, a thief has 40 days. Every thief at a time, they come to an end. And this is what exactly happened. Hot slaps by hungry residents justifying their hunger, finding themselves on the wrong side of engaging residents with two suspects that survived being lynched as police came to their rescue. It is said only one identified as Musawo, the doctor, they had waylaid after surveilling him for some time and were ready to grab and then whisk away with his property. However, the suspected thugs were only saved when one of the residents gave away into his workshop, where police was able to pick them and then take them for arrest. It is becoming common of such gangs waylaying people using motorcycles and rob them of their goods and money.
Micro and small-scale enterprises are the hardest hit by the taxes on digital financial services. This is due to the remoteness and the convenience to access larger financial institutions, which is hindering financial inclusion. The prevailing market demands seem to be facilitating the transition of Uganda's economy into digital, but limited financial knowledge is posing a challenge. The UN Nations Capital Development Fund has assessed the impact of taxation on mobile money on the financial inclusion and its cost on digitalizing the economy. Amidst the transition of the economy into digital, Uganda Revenue Authority is targeting emerging digital platforms, especially in form of sector, as a lucrative for revenue generation. This goes back to regulators to formulate policies geared to motivate more financial innovations in the country's transition. With introduction of the 0.5% tax on mobile money withdrawals seems to have led many users migrating to agent banking, where no comparable taxes are applied to withdrawals, though people are having lower incomes. People with lower incomes tend to have less access to agent banking, indicating that the burden of this tax does fall disproportionately on the poor.
Talk about mobile money withdrawals. These are some of the things that many Ugandans are craving and wondering what is the way forward if so much charges then are levied on them. Already many people will tell you mobile money was their thing of saving their money, banking their money, but now some have resorted to keeping money at home, where financial discipline is usually very hard, because you can get this money anytime by just maybe overturning your pillow or wherever you've kept that money within home. But this is a talk. Maybe we feel that one day we shall have a breakthrough. But Priscilla, you can also take us through international stories.
Turning our attention to the international stories for the day, we look at Haiti's new sworn-in interim prime minister, having said his government plans to work to allow the Caribbean nation to hold elections as quickly as possible after the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse plunged into the country into deeper political uncertainty. Ariel Henry, who was confirmed as prime minister, is a ceremony in Port-au-Prince last week, said on Wednesday that the mission of his government is to prepare the conditions to hold the elections as quickly as possible. Henry did not say when exactly the elections, which Moïse had promised to hold later this year, would be. His comments come as Haiti continues to reel from political instability worsened by Moïse killing in the early hours of July the 7th, when armed gunmen stormed his private residency in the capital and opened fire on him and his wife, who was seriously injured. The attack sent shockwaves across the country and around the world and thrust into international spotlight years of mounting gang violence and political instability that worsened during Moïse's presidency. Away from that, we turn our attention to America, where the U.S. Center of Disease Control and Prevention has issued new guidelines advising Americans in areas where there is substantial or high transmission of COVID-19 to go back to wearing masks indoors, whether vaccinated or not. The announcement triggered an immediate uproar and a revival of the circular and by now utterly frustrating political debate about masking that feasted through much of last year. Those bleating the loudest represent Republican areas where the refusal to take a safe, free, effective vaccine has allowed the Delta variant to catch fire and wither around U.S. and also stop the U.S. victory over the pandemic that was almost within reach. As is often the case, the most juvenile behavior was on show in the House of Representatives. Colorado's Representative Lorraine Bobbitt, a devotee of ex-President Donald Trump, reportedly threw back a mask offered to her by a staffer in the chamber. A Democratic and Republican lawmaker got into a yelling match when the former said his colleague was being selfish for not masking up. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, a California Republican, said mask guidance rooted in science that shows Delta's deadly spread was not actually based on science, and accused liberals of wanting to live in a perpetual pandemic state. We now move to the African continent, where we get to look at Nigeria and the High Court in the northern part of Nigeria having acquitted the leader of a banned Shia Muslim group and his wife, who had both been charged with inciting violence and of unlawful assembly. Sheikh Ibrahim Zakzaki, 68 years of age, leads the Islamic movement of Nigeria and was detained in 2015 along with his wife Zina. Their arrests followed deadly violence between the Islamic movement of Nigeria followers and the security forces in the city of Zaria in Kaduna State. The couple were released after the court dismissed the charges brought by the Kaduna State government. During the unrest back in 2015, rights groups say more than 300 of Sheikh Zakzaki's followers were killed during a military crackdown. The army alleges it was forced to retaliate after the members who were attending a religious ceremony in Zaria attacked the convoy of the military chief of staff, and the members were banned while Sheikh Zakzazi was in custody following weeks of protests with his supporters in 2019 who were demanding for his release. Shias make up a small minority in predominantly assuming Muslim northern Nigeria.
So this is something I find very funny.
The mask.
The mask. Because, sometimes you believe some nations maybe have got some level of understanding things and exposure to their citizens. And these are not things you should be questioning.
Well, when you look at it from the perspective of USA as a whole is the United States of America, but there are different states, and those states are independent of whatever decision is made in the House of Representatives. So even if the House of Representatives does put out a directive to wear masks, it is up to the governors of the different states to actually adopt it or not adopt it, depending on how they feel about it or their concerns about some of these issues. And so that is what's been happening in such states.
So why would really a governor's decision matter so much when it comes to my life?
Because they are the president. They are
because I would think,
you see how we have RDC, yes.
Yeah.
So for the case of the US, whether the president says what or what, it's the governor that actually leads the state. That is why you'll have a law against maybe sexual abuse applying in one state and not applicable in one state. That's why one thing will be a criminal in one state. For example, a drug abuse will be
a crime in one state.
Exactly.
But for me, I'm looking at it in that aspect of COVID-19 and wearing a mask. Why would putting on a mask become an issue? Because we know, even if you're vaccinated, fully vaccinated, you still get COVID, but you will not get severe illness or death. By the end of that day, I could be vaccinated and my little one or my wife is not vaccinated, or my grandmother. So I think putting on a mask should not even reach the House of Representatives. Is simple common sense. That is
logic.
My opinion.
Yeah.
But when we see USA now debating such an issue, where you should, you shouldn't, I think
some states, not USA, some states. Yeah.
Making that an issue to me, I think fellow Ugandans, you're doing this for yourself, not for the president, not for the Minister of Health, not for anybody, but for you and your loved ones. Because as much as government may have the burden of treating sick people, by the end of the day, when you lose your grandmother, when you lose your son, when you lose your mother, it is you who has lost. Or when you eventually die, those that have been surviving on you, they're the ones to suffer. Let's do these things for ourselves, not for authorities or what they have decided. Health is all about you, not the state.
All right, well, Kirabo has definitely shared his 2 cents on it, so we can't echo it enough. Even if you are excited about the lockdown coming to an end, please do not be excited to put off your mask and think that's the end of you wearing your mask. No, even after lockdown, Saturday, Sunday, going forward, please wear your mask all the time. Ensure that you have a sanitizer in your bag or in your pocket at all times. And one of the interesting things, even if it's a door that you're going to open, sanitize your hands or sanitize the door before you access that door, and ensure that you find a way of eliminating yourself from crowds or gatherings or, you know, big social places. Yes, if you can avoid them, please avoid them for the sake of your family, as Kirabo did put it. But COVID-19 is still here and we must fight it together. We have the National Planning Authority that has come out to say if we're not careful, these cases may actually rise come next week, depending on how the president actually handles what has come out of the 42 days. But you see, it comes down to you and it comes down to me. How we act to what has been told of us is what's going to help us to be able to get back into the normal that we once knew. We can only say it, but you're the one who has to do the work. So we leave that into your hands. On Good Morning Uganda, we're going to be continuing. We do have the newsreel where we're going to be talking about the celebration of the Kabaka's years as a leader of a cultural group here, the biggest cultural group here in Uganda, the impact of such cultures, you know, on the country, its moral, ethical, and political authorities all over the country. Later on, we have to look at the tabloids. What is the excitement? What's on the front page as lockdown is coming to an end? We're going to be finding out. Molen and I, of course, will be talking traffic, weather in that direction. And Kirabo, who are you hosting for us?
I'm hosting Issa Sekito, spokesperson of Kampala Capital City Traders Association, now ASITA Uganda. And we'll be looking at the impact of COVID-19 on the traders, because there's so much they have asked.
And what are they bidding for? Because they've really been affected.
They told government delay these new tax amendments for the next 2 years, not for now. But these and more, Issa Sekito is expected to be here and will be taking us through the plight of traders at such a time.
All right, we get to have us
for a long time, kingdoms had no space. However, under the leadership of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, we saw traditional leaders and kingdoms reinstalled. Many now have leaders of different kinds. Some are kings, others are cultural leaders. But at the end of the day, they all are governed under the same law. Now we want to assess the political, social, and economic relevancy of these traditional leadership or hierarchies in this country. And I'll begin with Felix Nkunda. Felix, when we talk about traditional leadership, one would say it brings together people, it unites people, but also we must look at how economically, socially, and if at all politically, because now we know many of them actually under the current law, they are more ceremonial than the previous leadership where we knew that maybe a king of any area within this country, Uganda, had the real power. This time around, the law kind of makes it different, but still they have roles to perform.
Thank you, Robert. I think it would be courtesy or courteous for me to begin by congratulating, and if I may do that in our traditional language, the King of Uganda, and if I may say verbatim, that uchanga lubanga lwa mindi tugenda kuza amazaalibwa ga Ssaabasajja Kabaka nga agabirimu 8
Amatikira.
Yeah, well, amatikira. Sorry, matikira ga Ssaabasajja ate kya kijjukizo nnyo this particular time because yasiima okugakuliza mu ssaza ly'e Buddu mu kifo ky'Enkoni bingi by'oyinza okugattako awo. So literally we do congratulate you, the King of Uganda, Your Royal Highness Ronald Muwenda Mutebi. It is a milestone, by the way, and it's a big deal. Unless you don't understand the role of culture, as Robert said, in all these aspects, in terms of political, social, even religious, by the way, you'll be surprised that the role of Uganda in particular in religion is high up there, because on all the 4 hills, or 3 rather, where you see some of the bedrock religions in this country were initially palaces. Rubaga it had the biggest what is this in English? Shrine for the king. The biggest was in Rubaga, where the cathedral is. When you go to Namirembe, the story ain't so different. Even Chibuli, for that matter. So that's why when you talk about the role of church, rather the role of tradition in shaping society, it would be unfair not to discuss kingdoms. But the springboard of the story is entirely about the king's coronation that will happen on Saturday, and that will be the 28th for that matter. We cannot be more excited. We are very, very excited that it is 28 years now since the King of Uganda has been seated on the throne of his grandparents, and from there he has led with confidence, vigor, and of course love the Uganda. So primarily we do congratulate you, Your Royal Highness, and of course all the people of Uganda. Tubayoza. Now, Robert, you did talk about the role of culture. There's nothing in this world that you will never attribute backward to culture or custom, and I can stand to be corrected. Even one of the basic sources of law in this country or in any known jurisdiction, one of the most primary, actually after legislation, is customs, or what you want to call it, customary law. Or if you in modern appreciation, you can call it cultural law, because what passes as custom thereafter may qualify to be culture. Individuals in this country, if you may be keen to understand, have caused adoption related to how kingdoms did things. If you remember, even when the missionaries came, that's now the role. When you talk about education, you'll see that it dates way back. Sekabaka writing a letter to the Queen to send missionaries. What did the missionaries do when they came here? That's why many people will not understand the role of culture unless they accept to get a bit backward. When you're making laws, one of the most fundamental, in fact even legislation, the most fundamental aspect is that any law mustn't be in, that it cannot clash with tradition and natural justice. That is in the part of legislation and all that. It can't. Now, it's an indicator that practices, cultural practices, are part and parcel of a defined society. And this can run in a trajectory of one, language. It can run in a tradition of lifestyle. It can run as far as even jobs. When you go to some place, for example, you go to Swaziland, the kind of jobs they do are defined by the norms of them. That's why there are things you can't do in Uganda because of the cultural relation. There are things you may not be able to do in Ankole traditions because of, even if it's work. Even if, for example, when you come to Uganda, which is probably a major discourse of focus, you must appreciate that there's a role the kingdom, the Uganda kingdom has in shaping the political stance of this country. Between you and me, you know the effects of that, and we have seen it maybe in different ways. Not that it may have clear mandate, but it has a role to shape. You talked about there's a way you wanted to squeeze it out. I don't know why of making it look like kingdoms they have power yet they don't have power. I can tell you, Robert, as a matter of fact, if you want to see the power, you ask Obote when in 66 what happened. That's when you'll know. Today, the Uganda we are talking about has its own government, in as much as there's a central government, but Uganda has. It has a prime minister, it has a parliament, it has ministers. And between you and me, we can even cause to assess the effects of this administration in the development of Uganda. And with due respect, if you want to make comparison in all other cultural setups, you would see clearly that the Uganda
are a milestone.
Far away in terms of politics, in terms of education, in terms of healthcare. Every time we are celebrating the king's birthday, you know what's done here.
Health camps and all that.
All those things. If they have hospitals, they have universities, the Kabaka has schools. So, and by far, lastly, let me just say this. With due respect, by the way, when you come to issues of land tenure, the only person who has shaped land tenure up till today is the king. And that's where the problem is for most of the people. So when you're talking about tradition and culture, it's a topic we talk about faintly, yet we should talk about it with sounding drums. Because culture must shape. And the problems we're having today, as we talk about them, saying that people, your religion, we should be even relating it to culture. That's why bagamba nti nazzi kuno omuganda yabanga n'empisa ng'ezo omuganda yabagamanga omuganda takola kino omuganda takola kino, like issues of incest, how we used to avoid incest here.
You don't marry a person from your clan,
and the reasoning is simple, because if you work backward,
you could be related.
So you see, we have failed to appreciate culture to the best, but I think these celebrations give us an opportunity to reflect on some of this.
Well, Priscilla, I'll first bring you in looking at memory line. 1993, do you have any memories of the Nagalabi when the Kabaka was being crowned?
Priscilla, really?
Just ask any.
I don't know.
Priscilla was
so you can just read about history.
Yeah.
Well, fine enough, I didn't ask that to Felix. But
I'll tell you my story later. But
let's okay. But Priscilla, when we look at today, Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutepe Frederick of Uganda, On Saturday, he will be celebrating 28 years on the throne. Of late, there is a threat to culture, or this traditional institution is the Western culture that has come in. That today you have maybe use a Kirabo who may not even know their mother tongue, a Kirabo who may totally even be away from anything to do with culture, their traditional leadership, and such institutions. Let's look at this impact and how best can we ensure that we still respect these institutions despite modernity, then the internet, and all these adaptations that are coming in.
Well, that's an interesting question, Kirabo. The beauty about it is
and
that...
before you answer that, tambula mungu Muganda. Okay, then continue.
Anyway, before we dive into that conversation, I know there's some people who have definitely have loyalty to Uganda. And as we are looking at the celebrations that are upcoming this Saturday for the Kabaka, you do have a message, a congratulatory message that you want to send to the Kabaka and the kingdom, or there's something that you actually want to say. Oh, what does that, culture and tradition mean to you? You may not be a Muganda, you may be a Musoga, you may be a Naturally, but what does culture mean for you in terms of who you've become in society? So send us a message on the line that is just on your screen, and we're going to be able to dive into that. But responding to your question that you have asked, culture, the erosion of culture given the introduction of the Western culture. Now that's a big stretch. Back in the day, we had borders, and these borders were pretty much expected. You are born here, you study here, you marry here, you develop here, you die here. But over time, with globalization, that stance has changed, that you will be born here, and then you will study here, part of your studies will be here, then you will travel to the UK, finish your degree, masters, possibly find someone that steals your heart, you come back, you do your traditional wedding, and then you have to merge the two cultures that you have picked up to. It still hurts.
Continue. We'll get to Felix about stealing hearts, yes, later on.
Yes, so that's the one thing that has actually eroded in terms of culture and how much we can appreciate and carry this culture forward. One, I get to see the parents of today in terms of language or Uganda. In their homes, they're speaking English with their children.
Yes.
That means that you're in
no vernacular at home.
No vernacular, meaning that in the next 20 years you will not have a Muganda speaking or knowing their mother tongue of Luganda. Let's look at the traditions, the customs, the norms, kneeling down, how you respond to elders, how you conduct yourself in the community, Tamburango Muganda. We will not be having some of these things extended in the next 20 years simply because of the introduction of the Western culture, which you can't remove Western culture. It's something that has come in. We have embraced it, but for me, I think my voice would be that to us who must or who have had the blessing of being raised in one way or another traditionally as Baganda, I think we're all Bagandas here, you get to realize that it's been wonderful to associate with tradition. It's been one of the reasons as to the discipline that we have in life today. It's been one of the reasons as to how we respond to life and its challenges today, because of the customs and the norms that we actually learned as children who grew up in homes where culture and tradition were actually very key and instrumental in raising a generation. That is a good thing, but now the onus is in how do we carry forward. The ugly truth is that every generation picks up less to carry forward. Every generation, the next generation will pick up less and less and less and less, until one day the only thing one person will say is that I'm a Muganda. The details of that, they will never know.
Can I give you a shock of my life? One time I went to the passport office, that's the immigration office, and this guy interviewing me asks me, what tribe are you? Tell him I'm Muganda. Tells me, okay. okutambula ng'Omuganda. Priscilla, I almost failed to have a passport. Like, oh, this thing is really serious this way. That finding out if you are Ugandan, they ask you the tribe. Then the next thing I also found out, when a crime is committed at police, have you ever noticed that even in court, as they read the details of a person, name, age, and tribe, that this is how important it is? So these are some of the things that I really feel like you've said, that we should ensure do not lose our origins and what matters for.
It's part of our identity. It's part of who we are as Ugandans. The fact that we are a cultural-centered country. We have so many cultures in this country, and they're so beautiful when you get to actually understand them to the core. They're so beautiful. But the eradication or the erosion of those cultures is going to be highly dependent on what the cultural leaders are doing to keep those very traditions alive. We have Nabagereka, the Nabagereka of Uganda. She's been doing Chisakati. If it was not for Chisakati, trust you me, so many of the upcoming young ladies would never ever understood themselves as Baganda ladies and the traditions of Buganda. But through programs like Chisakati, they've been able to continuously pass on the mantle, pass on the baton, pass on the traditions, pass on the norms to the next generation. Now, kingdoms such as Uganda have to heavily invest or go back to the drawing board and come up with more programs like that, so that they can have a continuation of the culture and everything that culture stands for. That would be my recommendation, so that we fight the erosion or the Western coming in and taking over. Because honestly, I see it with a couple of my relatives. English is what they speak in the house. You and the mother are speaking Luganda, but the children, you have to speak English. And then you ask yourself, why is it shameful for your children to know your traditional language? Why are you not allowing them to learn their traditional language? Originally, given the stance that maybe between in our generation, at home, you're all Baganda or whatever culture was at home, that's the first language you speak. Today, the first language the child speaks is English.
English, because even all that people are going to play with, so we've so much integrated that at the end of the day, it is only upon us to ensure that, yes, we pass on our identity to our children by ensuring that they're well versed with cultures. And we want to thank the Kingdom of Uganda for the tremendous work they have done in terms of social, economic transformation of this country. When you talk about groupings like the Ankoba Zambogo, projects like Chisakati, Wanga Muje, Bukadef, Pewosa, there's so much that they have done. And we just want to wish the Kabaka of Uganda, Ssaabasajja Wangala, yatukwagaliza nokuza amatikira mu mirembe agesanyu. We know, like last year it was, this is going to be scientific, but wherever you are, please at least do something in memory of this coronation. When we return, we'll be looking at what is trending in the print media. Stay with us.
Therefore, understanding this model. Hey, excuse me, lady. Who do you think you are? A queen?
Hey, haven't you heard? Get Airtel Chillax bundles and browse like a queen.
Get Airtel Chillax bundles that do not expire and browse like a queen or king. Dial *175# or use My Airtel app. Airtel, the smartphone network.
COVID-19 kijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear a mask properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Good morning once again, and thank you so much for keeping it on UBC TV, where every morning we make sure we come to you live where you are, your sitting room, maybe your office, in case you're an essential worker and you're already in office, or the comfort of your hotel room. This is your morning show that you shouldn't miss, because we start up your day with information that you need to know, both locally, internationally, and definitely will put a smile on your face. Praise the Lord, the 42 days soon are going to be done and dusted as you await for the President's address that is tomorrow to give us a way forward. But it's time we look at what the print media has for us. The new vision, UN body calls for reopening of schools. That is a promise to help ensure children continue learning. Now, the education sector is one of those sectors that has been greatly affected by COVID-19, seeing a total closure nationwide, and continuity is another issue. So UN calls for that. We look at other news. Approved car tracking deal. There's so much that is happening, and here we see the Attorney General explaining something regarding that. Government plans tougher laws on Kavera ban. This is something we discussed here yesterday in Israel. Yes, a decade of environmental restoration in Uganda, and the ban on Kavera is one of the measures that government is looking at to ensure that really we achieve restoring our environment. Then government protests over blocked milk. That is the Agriculture Minister Frank Tumwebaze has written to the Kenya and Tanzanian authority over the blocking of Uganda dairy products. Tumwebaze said the ban by the two neighbors is crippling Uganda's dairy sector. Still in the education, we look at Senior 1 and Senior 6 work, where there is physics, entrepreneurship studies, English, mathematics, and that is information communication technology there for you. Then a series on various people that have played a very big role in Uganda. Meet Uganda's first female police officer. Who was she? The New Vision gives you more of that. And President Museveni receives new Chinese envoy to Uganda. Still looking at the New Vision this morning, we look at COVID-19 statistics, and new confirmed cases 327. People tested and confirmed with COVID-19. Then new death 15. The number is reducing day by day. We thank the Lord. Total death, that is 2,605. 2,605 people. There are still, we look at Noyo Member of Parliament, Agnes Kirabo. This is Central Region Youth Member of Parliament. Today in history, it was on this date, the 29th of July, the year 1992, when Kategaya rejects call for secret ballot. That is the first Deputy Prime Minister and National Political Commissar Elia Kategaya challenged members of the National Resistance Council calling for secret ballot. He told them that grievances should be decided openly, pointing out that there was no harm in members expressing their strong feelings if they believed the council chairman may not have heard them during voting of council delegates. Still on this very day, we see Israel's Palestinian resume talks. And still in the New Vision, facts or myth? Can COVID-19 be transmitted during sexual intercourse? Well, the experts answer you regarding that. I'll look at the New Vision sports this morning, where I see, is it better to work together than apportioning blame? Who gives you that? That is Lilian Lubura in Tokyo, Japan, writes more on that. Then eyes on him. And who is that? That is Joshua Cheptegei. And also the New Vision gives you more regarding Olympics medals table as it stands today. Let's move to Priscilla with the Daily Monitor.
Well, for the Daily Monitor this morning, as we look at July 29th, 2021, you get to look at in series, they're bringing you COVID patient stories. Beating COVID. Negative result did not mean I was fine. And that is Nduhura speaking about his experience with COVID-19. Daily Monitor today brings you, are you one for short-term relationships? ? Well, you want to find out the answer? Page 23 will give you the details. Zero lockdown countdown. Today is the last day, and we get to look at the black and white of the front page. Audit of lockdown reveals no exit plan, where we get to look at, with only 5% of the targeted 21.9 million Ugandans vaccinated, any lifting of the lockdown would likely be a temporary, as infections are likely to spike again when people start congregating, exposing government to an exit plan without plan unless it has all the vaccinations that it needs. You get to see in picture 7 of the objectives of imposing lockdown. 1 was transmission, 2 was awareness, emergencies, health facilities, and home-based care. On page 9, you will find a story about Uganda petitioning Kenya and Tanzania. On page 10, there's a story about call for phased reopening. And on page 3, we get to look at education paralyzed for 2 years. Daily Guide brings you in the news, lockdown inside plan for reopening Kampala, and that's the COVID-19 task force team for Kampala has proposed a stringent guideline which traders must follow when the lockdown is lifted. Mitchell returns as crane coach, and that was a former Ugandan's crane coach. He is back and he's been handed a 3-year contract in the same capacity. We have from the archives, then Inspector General of Police, that is General Edward Katumba Wamala, and then Forces spokesperson Asmani Mujenyi donating blood at Kampala City Square. The year was 2004. Today in history, we get to look at 2 sentenced over MP murder. The year was 1966. Also in history, Prince Charles marries Lady Diana, 1981. Wow, that's a long time ago. Looking at the statistics today, Uganda cases have risen to 93,122, and the death toll now stands at 2,605. But the active cases that we have are in 14,179,201. Turning our attention to the sports side of the Daily Monitor this Thursday, Cheptegei not my rival. News sensation Kiplimo speaks out. And that's a very interesting story that you should read about. Another conversation in the sports, questions welcome Mitchell, Uganda Old Flame reunion. And they give you some of the FIFA Qatar World Cup qualifier games that he has to be in charge of. There's also a schedule for Olympics today. We do have rolling, you do have judo, shooting, and basketball today. Tokyo 2020 Games motivated. They bring you some of the stories of what is happening in Tokyo currently. Nakai na Nyondo vowing to leave everything on Tantan and perhaps bring home some medals. Some of those Olympic stories for our team in Tokyo are going to be in your Daily Monitor this morning.
Well, looking at the Daily Nation this morning, we look at some of the stories there coming out from our neighbors, where Uhuru Raila plan handshakes tour. While it is clear here that rehearsals for the 2022 campaigns officially, the visiting there, which began in Nyanza, Western Coast and Upper Eastern commission development projects, but there is so much to expect in that coming election. Then nurses without jobs to work in the UK under the New Deal. That is in Kenya, where we are seeing jobless Kenyan nurses and other health workers will get a chance to work in the UK as part of a new scheme requested by Kenya. And they are set to launch this today. The nation has learned of that. And we still look at still the Daily Nation, where that is GMO ugali only 2 steps away from Kenyans. That is a genetically modified now ugali that refers to posho. There soon they'll be having that on their plates. Then detectives on the trial of Matu bank robbery. Police believe 5-man gang were under command of a former GSU officer who hails from that area. There's so much regarding that robbery, and it has dominated Kenyan press. But also we look at tough season for Marshall Pride Lions. That is still in Kenya, and that is the Daily Nation. But these and more, of course, when you get yourself a copy of these dailies, you'll be able to expound on that. Priscilla, I see you set also to take us through traffic updates, but do you have any messages coming in before we go for that?
Kirabo, did you hear the part where I read 0 days to lockdown?
Yes.
Yeah, so today is like celebration day. People are not really intending to move anywhere. But we do have some messages that have come through this morning, and you can send us your message responsively on the line that is appearing in front on your screen. We do have a message here. Good morning, guys. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm Frederick Kabanda Salongo from Kaboa, Kampala, Rubaga Division. Salongo, it's a pleasure to be in your company this morning. We do have David. You're also saying, I'm watching. Good morning to you, Uganda. Thank you so much, David. We do have another message here. Someone that is responding. Kabaka is celebrating 28 years of sitting on the throne of Buganda Kingdom. And so you can share your sentiments, your messages to the Kingdom of Uganda, and how you feel, you know, culture has actually shaped who you are by sending us a WhatsApp message on the line on your screen. We do have a message here. Good morning, UBC. This is Fred. I'm a Munyoro by tribe, and to me, I do honor the Kabaka of Buganda and its leadership because it has managed to fight on behalf of its people and the country as whole, unlike other cultural leaders who are down there silent. I wish him a nice celebration. Well, thank you so much, Fred. That's a pick out lesson. Sometimes we just need to borrow a leaf from different places, different cultures, different traditions, and see how they do things. If we like them, adopt them, and have them also work for us. Send us a WhatsApp on that line and we'll be checking into your messages. But in terms of traffic, just remind you, even as the lockdown is coming to an end and we expect the president to be speaking to the country tomorrow, the law enforcers for the SOPs that were put in place for the 42 days are still active in every place. Your community, they are still making sure that you adhere to the SOPs. Now, especially for car users, in case you are caught on the wrong side of the law, trust you me, the one thing you don't want to lose is your car number plate, because they'll pluck it off and you will have to go and pay for another one. That's going to cost you an arm and a leg in such an economy. So make sure that for whatever reason you have to be on the road, you have validation that can actually show, evidence that can actually show. If you're going to a hospital, you must have a letter from the LC1. If you have to go to another district, you may need documentation from the RDC's office. If you are going to work, you still have to have your identifications and national ID on you so that they can verify you in case you're stopped by a law enforcer. That way, we can finish lockdown harmoniously. That would be something good for us to see. Now, we're going to be looking at weather, climate, and the changes that are coming as we're stepping into the month of August. So many things are changing. I don't know about you, but I've noticed the nights are very, very cold, and then it starts to warm up at about 10 o'clock in the morning, and then the afternoon is quite warm, then chilly at the same time. And so Molen Kenyana is going to be giving us an update on what is expected into the weather for the month of August and today. We do have a message coming in here from Dennis. Dennis, thank you so much for watching Good Morning Uganda, and you're sharing your greetings. We do greet you back. I believe you're trying to type a message there. It's a WhatsApp line, not a call line, so we are ready to receive your WhatsApp messages. Thank you so much, and leaving you in the hands of Molin Kenyana to take you through weather, nature and climate. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Therefore, understanding this model. Hey, excuse me, lady. Who do you think you are? A queen?
Hey, haven't you heard? Get Airtel Chillax bundles and browse like a queen.
Get Airtel Chillax bundles that do not expire and browse like a queen or king. Dial *175# or use My Airtel app. Airtel, the smartphone network.
COVID-19 kijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
A very good morning to you all, and thank you very much for keeping it to UBC and for being with us here at Good Morning Uganda. Well, it is time now for Weather and Nature. My name is Molin Kenyana, and I want to first take you through what we are expecting for the last days of the month and also the first days of August. And also I will be looking at what we expect for August in terms of rainfall across the region coming in from our regional center. So what we have here on the screen, that is our weekly forecast, and that forecast goes up to goes from 27th up to 3rd of August 2021. Now mostly we are looking at the orange colors and also the yellow colors across much of northern Uganda, but also looking at the Karamoja region likely to have more rains. Where you see part of the green colors, that is where we have the Karamoja region. That area is likely to have more rainfall across that region. And also for northern Uganda, we do have some of those yellow colors and orange. Now that area is expected to have light rains, mostly in form of isolated showers, but that will also be across the West Nile, that is parts of northwestern Uganda. We are likely to have light rains over there. But where you see the white colors, that is where we expect less rains and actually to no rainfall across most areas, especially here across parts of central north. But we also do have the orange colors here across western Uganda, southern western Uganda. That is where we have parts of Kasese, also the Rwenzori region. We do expect to have a little bit of light rains, but that forecast goes up to 3rd July. 3rd August, but the rest of the country we seem to be having less rains. Take a look at Mbara here. Most parts of Western Lake Victoria Basin, we do expect to have reduced wet weather activities. Now, we want to take a look ahead at what we are forecasting in terms of rainfall probability across the region for the month of August 2021. Now, this is in terms of percentages, and we want to look at mostly the green color. That is where we expect rains to be at least within the normal ranges, what we usually experience for this time of the year. We also want to remember that this is still a rainy season for our country, Uganda. Now, you can see more darker colors, green colors across the Karamoja region, also extending up to eastern Uganda and parts of Mount Elgon Highlands. This area is expected to continue with those rains, and also that will extend all the way inside up to Lake Choga region. That area is also likely to continue with more rainfall. We do have a pickup of rainy conditions though across the western part of the country and southwestern Uganda, which is where we are seeing this dark green color as well, to a normal percentage, and also forecasting above normal, but really within the normal ranges of rainy conditions that are expected across this area. Now, this area still, we have to note that this is where we have the Rwenzori region areas like Kasese, where we usually have the heavy rain. So it is like this time of the year that we still give out that alert to the relevant authorities to please do look out for these rains. They could come in heavy, and that could create flash floods across most areas. But also we do see a reduction, especially across the West Nile and parts of central north, where we have Gulu, that is where we have Kitgum, that is where we have Lira. We do expect a reduction in rainfall. Also for parts of Arua, Nebi, Zombo, it's quite going into the white colors, meaning that rains will be actually below normal for this area. You see to the extreme end where we have those white dots, we do expect to have a reduction in wet weather activities. That area could still be dealing with reduced wet weather conditions, meaning that if you are planting your crops, if you're still having most gardens that require water, this is the time that you look at other methods of getting water into your gardens. Now, that goes also for the western part of Lake Victoria Basin. This is where we have Masaka, Kalisizo, Sembabule. That area is also likely to have reduced wet weather conditions. That is where we see this white color here. So this is also a region to look out for other sources of water if you really need to keep up with your planting season. But otherwise, we still see the Karamoja region doing well in terms of rainfall. We are expecting this area to continue with wet weather activities. We also have the Mount Elgon Highlands. Now, this is also one of the regions that really does have heavy rains when we are forecasting rains over there. So it could also be looking at creating flash floods and also possibility of landslides, all those extremes that could come with heavy rainfall that are above normal. But the forecast seems to be looking at mostly normal conditions for most areas across the country for the month of August 2021. Now, in terms of temperatures across the country, really we do have mostly our temperatures are diurnal, like they usually don't change away from the normal, but we do see at least areas like Karamoja, northern Uganda going above numbers that are 30 to 31, and that could be really warm, but also seems quite normal for that area. But looking at what we have for the August month, we do see where we have the yellow colors. It is also in terms of percentages, but also looking at the normal percentage across the country. Now, where we expect temperatures to be quite high, still the Karamoja region is expected to be warmer than the rest of the country. We do see part of Mount Elgon Highlands still expected to be warmer, and that actually correlates to the wet weather activities expected over this region, because even at the same time when temperatures are warmer, they do influence the rainy conditions expected in that area. Now, that also increases inside to the Lake Choga region and also part of the Lake Victoria Basin. This is also where we have Kampala, this is where we have Entebbe, that is central Lake Victoria. and also eastern Lake Victoria Basin, where we have Tororo, we have Jinja in that region. We do expect to have temperatures still within the normal range, but likely to be warmer. Now take a look at western Uganda here. This is where we have light blue colors and also to white. We do expect temperatures to be quite low. Now within the normal range, but they will be mostly low according to compared to what we've been receiving, what we've been having for the month of July. So that area can look out for mostly chilly mornings and most afternoons actually being chilly. But for parts of the Karamoja region, eastern Uganda, the mountain Elgon Highlands, that is where we have Mbale, Bududa. Like I said, we expect more info over that area, but also quite warm temperatures. You can expect to have cold nights. Now, areas like these that do expect to have mostly maximum temperatures that are within the average and also above average, shooting to 30 and above, they are also associated with very cold temperatures in the night. So that area can look out for mostly quite cold nights. Now, we want to take a look at what we have today over our satellites, and looking from what we have from windy bringing us UMISAT satellite, we do see mostly cloudy conditions across the country. We did start off with that rainy system, but that was mostly over Lake Victoria, and that was bringing us mostly rainy conditions across the islands of Lake Victoria. But that system seems to be dying away, although it's extending. There is one that is developing, extending up to the central part of Lake Victoria Basin, and that could be bringing us rains later as the morning progresses across the central part of Lake Victoria Basin. That is where we have Entebbe as well, Wakiso, Kampala, but we will see that in our forecast. Now we also have this rainy system that is starting to develop across West Nile. That is for the northwestern part of the country. Arua, there already having those light rains. Now that system will continue up to parts of Yumbe. We do see much of it will actually be moving westwards, and that could also be clearing later as the day goes on. We see mostly cloudy conditions across the country, and also we are likely to see most of those clear, especially across the southwestern part of the country, and also for Midwestern, where we have Masindi. We did start off with that rainy system that was over Lake Albert, but that cleared as the morning progressed. That is where we see the deep blue colors, but for now it is mostly cloudy conditions developing, and most of those could actually be bringing us rains as we shall be looking at our forecast for this morning. But most areas are already dealing with intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions across most areas. Now we start off with central Lake Victoria Basin, where we have Mukono, we have Kampala, Entebbe, Wakiso. We are expecting to start off with isolated showers, mostly with a chilly morning at 25 degrees centigrade, but that will also be over a few areas. Now looking ahead for more readings that we have for you today, like I said, from the satellite, it still indicates intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. But for central northern Uganda, where we have Gulu, we have Kitgum, we have Padel, we are forecasting isolated showers. Those will also be over a few places, starting off at 25 degrees centigrade. But temperatures will be warmer as the day progresses across that region. Now for Luwero, Woblenzi, that is across the eastern parts of central, we do have Nakaseke, Nakasongola in that category. We are forecasting also isolated showers over a few areas. Close to 20% of that area will be seeing those rains, but starting off at 26 degrees centigrade. Now across eastern Uganda, where we have Soroti, we have Katakwi, we have Amuria and Kumi, we are forecasting intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions and temperatures quite warm at 27 degrees centigrade for that area, and also temperatures likely to shoot up as the day goes by across that region. Now the eastern parts of Lake Victoria Basin, we do have Tororo, Busia, Iganga and Jinja in that category. We are also forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine, and temperatures will go at a beautiful 26 degrees centigrade, quite normal for this time of the year. We do expect more temperatures rising up during the day. Now across Mount Elgon Highlands, that is where we have Mbale, we have Bududa, Buko and Sironko. We are forecasting, although a mix of clouds and sunshine, starting off at 26 degrees centigrade for this morning. We do expect also temperatures to go at least up to 28 later in the day, and that area can also expect rains later in the evening. Now for southwestern Uganda, we are forecasting also a mix of clouds and sunshine with a pleasant 26 degrees. It will be mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions, and most of those will go into the afternoon. Now we have western parts of Lake Victoria Basin, that is where we have Masaka, we have Kalisizo, we have Zimbabwe. We are going to start off the day with mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions, and those conditions will continue into the afternoon, starting off at a beautiful 26 degrees centigrade. Quite some pleasant weather over that area. Now we are really seeing still your messages coming through via WhatsApp. Thank you very much for getting in touch with us, and Priscilla is still here to take us through that and read some of your messages. But remember, we still have Good Morning Uganda agenda that will be coming up, and also sports also will be coming through with Ruben here. Priscilla, what do you have for us in terms of messages that are coming through, and especially looking at today's mostly what everyone is talking about, the coronation for the Kabaka of Uganda. It is quite a good day, and this day brings joy to a lot of people, not only in Uganda, but also most of us who really celebrate kingship.
And what's your message to the Kingdom of Uganda as they celebrate 28 years?
Please continue to be an inspiration. Continue to be an inspiration to other kingdoms, but also looking at most of the programs that Uganda has put up. They do benefit all Ugandans who live in Uganda, and that is a very good picture looking at this year's coronation. Just keep doing that. Keep inspiring everyone. Yes. Priscilla.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And a couple of people are inspired every time you and I, Felix and Robert, wake up every single time to Good Morning Uganda. Hi, I am Baraka. I'm always watching Good Morning Uganda. Thank you so much, Baraka. And you say thanks for the show, Molen. All right. Okay, we do have another message here. Hello, Good Morning Uganda. I am Babs International from Fort Portal, watching you live, and thanks for the work. Babs, thank you so much. Hopefully one day you'll invite us to Fort Portal as Good Morning Uganda for our Friday's edition. My name is Jaja Joffrey of Gayaza, wishing everyone a blessed day. Jaja Joffrey, tweyanzanyo tweyanzige. Thank you so much. We do have a message coming in here from someone. Well done, guys. I am watching. They didn't leave their name, but I think they are Gad Nkesiga. Gad Nkesiga, thank you so much for watching Good Morning Uganda. We do have a message coming in here. Hello guys, DJ Deno Chibanda FM radio station. Thank you so much, DJ Demo, for being with us on Good Morning Uganda. We do have Nakalembe Cecilia. Morning everyone. Yoga yoga kabaka wange okutuuka kumatikirwa. Well, thank you so much, Cecilia, and congratulations to the Uganda Kingdom. Good morning, my mentors. This is Lydia Mbale. I enjoy and love watching your program almost on a daily basis. You are exceptional for your information, and may good God bless you abundantly. Thank you so much, Lydia, for being with us on Good Morning Uganda. Well, keep your messages coming in. Even on Good Morning Uganda agenda, Robert Kirabo will be responding to some of your queries, your comments, and your questions on the same WhatsApp number as we go in for Good Morning Uganda agenda, where we're going to be hosting someone from Kasita to talk about the plight of traders within the different cities, but most especially in Kampala, and how they're going to be able to overcome the challenges of COVID-19. Later on, sports update is dedicated to Olympics until the end of Tokyo, and so Ruben Pima Chibirango is going to be here at 8:30 to give you an Olympics update in that direction, as well as John Barnes Sentamu. And then later on at 9 p.m. we will be going for Good Morning Uganda Extra with Jagenda Semakula. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
was brought to you by...
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Senchu points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go. MTN.
Patriotism is a feeling of love, devotion, and the willingness to sacrifice for one's country.
I say no to corruption because I put my country first. I choose peace over violence because I put my country first.
I love Uganda. I serve Uganda. I sacrifice for Uganda. I'm loyal to Uganda. I love my soul.
Be patriotic. Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Uganda, Office of the President.
As the financial year 2020-2021 draws to an end, URA has put measures in place to facilitate taxpayers to file their returns and pay taxes within the set deadline. All our offices across the country and the URA Contact Center shall remain open to provide extra support to our esteemed taxpayers. Additionally, we have extended our contact center service hours from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Friday, and from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays and public holidays. In light of the COVID-19 risks, we encourage taxpayers to reach us through our improved contact center and other online platforms instead of making physical visits to our offices. For online support, please reach us through our toll-free lines 0800 117 000 or 0800 217 000. Email services@ura.go.ug. Website ura.go.ug. Social media: Facebook, URA page, Twitter @URA Uganda. URA Customs Help Tool, help.ura.go.ug/login. URA appreciates all taxpayers who have duly fulfilled their obligations. Stay safe and let us all observe the standard operating procedures to prevent further spread of the COVID-19 virus. Stay safe as we develop Uganda together.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
Uganda, today is a great day to work towards your dreams. Dial *185*7# and select savings to save as low as 500 Ugandan shillings on regular savings or 250,000 Ugandan shillings for fixed deposits. Airtel Money Super Saver is powered by KCB Bank Uganda. Airtel Money, instant, secure, borderless. T's and C's apply.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Silver is a valuable metal. Is this expression about babies eating metal? Let's find out.
Jonathan, last night at Kim's party, everyone talked about how they went to the best schools and how they're making tons of money.
Well, they must have worked hard to get to that point, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. They were just born with silver spoons in their mouths.
Yeah, I know the type. They can be a little annoying.
Someone who is born with a silver spoon in their mouth is born into a family of wealth and privilege. We use this expression in a negative way to describe someone who is successful only because of their family's money and connections. And that's English in a Minute.
As the financial year 2020-2021 draws to an end, URA has put measures in place to facilitate taxpayers to file their returns and pay taxes within the set deadline. All our offices across the country and the URA Contact Center shall remain open to provide extra support to our esteemed taxpayers. Additionally, we have extended our contact center service hours from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Friday, and from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays and public holidays. In light of the COVID-19 risks, we encourage taxpayers to reach us through our improved contact center and other online platforms instead of making physical visits to our offices. For online support, please reach us through our toll-free lines 0800 117 000 or 0800 217 000. Email services@ura.go.ug. Website ura.go.ug. Social media, Facebook, URA page, Twitter at URA Uganda. URA Customs Help Tool, help.ura.go.ug/login. URA appreciates all taxpayers who have duly fulfilled their obligations. Stay safe and let us all observe the standard operating procedures to prevent further spread of the COVID-19 virus. Stay safe as we develop Uganda together.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
COVID-19 kijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear a mask properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
My name is Pastor Martin Semper, aka Gabriel Baba Gwanga Mujeri Yesu. I am the pastor of Makerere Community Church at Makerere University. I want to remind and appeal to you the importance of practicing washing your hands even when you are at home. Make sure that at least every 15-30 minutes you wash your hands. You move to the left, because when people at home, they forget. They only wash when they are entering an arcade, a business, or a big building. Now, whenever you are moving from place, even at your home, make at the tap inside your compound. Let it be a good practice that you are continuously washing water and soap. When you do that, in addition to others, you will overcome and be able to keep away disease, COVID, and other communicable diseases that are also there even during this time. So again, I'm Pastor Gabriel Baba Gwanga Muje, aka Martin Semper, appealing, reminding, strengthening you that washing hands saves lives.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Children are sometimes afraid of the dark. But what do you think this expression might mean?
What was all that shouting about earlier?
Kim and Craig broke up, but they still have to work together. Problems.
Wait, Kim and Craig were dating?
How can you be so in the dark with this one? They were always holding hands and making kissy faces.
Forget I asked. Ugh.
When you are in the dark, you are not informed about a situation. You don't have all the facts. Or maybe you don't want all the facts, like Jonathan in our example.
Ugh.
But you can also be kept in the dark on purpose by a friend, company, or government. And that's English in a Minute.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
And about 41 days back, when His Excellency came up and spoke to the nation regarding the spread of COVID-19. By then, of course, numbers, the second wave was with us. And as we speak today, the Lord has been faithful. Who knew that we would reach to this? When tomorrow by midnight, it will all be done. The 22 days will have ended, and we expect His Excellency to address the nation tomorrow, giving us a way forward. But among the sectors that have been greatly affected is the business community or traders. Now today we want to look at how we can revive the business sector amidst COVID-19, because it has been one of the sectors hit. And we know, of course, when a lockdown is put in place, it affects the economy, and this is the business community as well. Now with me in studios, I have the spokesperson of Kasita, Uganda. This is Kampala City Traders Association, now that evolved to cover the entire country, being Kasita, Uganda. This is Issa Sechito. Yes, talk about Kasita, anyone will tell you Issa Sechito.
Good morning, viewers. I'm delighted to be here this morning, especially as we are counting down. I have heard news on radio while I was arriving here that somehow scared me, that the Minister of Health has said that the number of people who have been diagnosed of late has increased from 67 to 300 and something, when it is only a day to the ultimatum or the closure of the lockdown of 42 days. Remember, the 42 days came after we had served some other days, which the president said, no, don't talk.
Well, we had a ban on inter-district travels, yes.
Said, no, don't talk about that. We are starting afresh. So I almost got worried. It is as if I did not even attend a meeting on Tuesday at the KCCA about the opening of Kampala business, where we had the minister, the RCC, and other authorities involved. Because in health matters, anything can change anytime. And the president, we are waiting for the president. But let the country know that apart from a few adjustments, it's not the president's statement. He reads it right on time, but he can vet it very, 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 in very, very small margins. Whatever he presents is recommendations from the National Task Force.
The experts.
The experts. Therefore, at times when you speak to the president, he's very much worried about the business, about the pressures. We as Kasita are receiving, I personally receive between 8 to 9 to 12 people per day asking me for some contribution because they are collapsing in the houses. If you, a mere spokesperson for Kasita, Uganda, receive 12, then how about the head of state using all avenues? He receives every information, every cry, every data, and therefore at times he thinks that no, we should deal with this. But when you talk to Musenero, when you talk to Asheni, when you talk to anybody on the National Task Force, they will show you the data on screen that if we don't do this,
if we don't have infection rates reduced to 5%, then it is not safe to open up.
We shall have to leave KCCA with sometime in the morning to collect the bodies, and then you can come to town later after you have collected the bodies. They show you pictures of how India suffered, burnt the people until they had no more firewood to burn them, and then they left them to drown. So when you see these pictures, you now are held between
hard rock.
Yes, you say, should we open? Should we extend?
So let's begin at that, Sekito. You as the body that unites traders in Uganda, you came up and urged government to reopen.
Yes.
Why are you pushing for reopening?
Despite
the fact that maybe there could be potential fears of us going to a point. Yesterday I saw Mr. Mugendawala, that is of the Uganda National Planning Authority, saying should we open anyhow, in just 2 weeks, we'll have gone back to ground zero.
You know, it is something that is very tricky. I will tell you that when you have the bills coming from Uganda Revenue Authority, asking you to have complied and submitted returns by the 30th of June, and the president closed on the 18th of June, and therefore you are subjected to penalties and fines if you make a late payment or late entry submission. When you have calls which are automated from the landlords asking you to pay for rent for July and June for those who had not paid yet, if you have Uganda Revenue Authority holding over 450 containers of textile and the garments, whichever kind of garment, and the increment of taxes per container of 20 feet is 150 million. For that of 40 feet is 280 to 350. One container. And the goods are all held in customs. When you have people whose merchandise is totally expired, because the presidential directive started with the midnight tonight on the 18th of June. By 10 p.m. that day, you do not open your shop. And some people leave the money in the shops for operating tomorrow. Somebody leave the items already shopped and stocked as stock for people to use the following day or other consequent days. And all our requests to work with the security, to work with the landlords, to work with the government, to see that the people who wanted to evacuate their cargo from the shops to avoid expiry dates, all right, did not heed any fruits. We wrote it to the IGP, we wrote it to the Minister of Internal Affairs, we wrote it to the chairman of the landlords, asking that let us make a schedule of how we can access some of these arcades on request. Somebody makes an application that I am dealing in ABCD, I want to be helped under observation of the SOPs. I enter and remove my stuff, I take to sell, to recover and feed my family, and nothing has been answered.
Most landlords I saw, they were welding the doors.
Yes, so that you cannot access.
There was welding.
So that you cannot access. And the only right they have over you is their rent. The capital is yours, the goods are yours, but because you are being demanded money, therefore you cannot be allowed access, and that's why they are welding to put another lock for you not to access. Because they had already heard that we are appealing to government to help us get some of the goods that we are getting destroyed. Kampala is built on a river. Therefore, some shops, all the clothes that we removed for the previous lockdown were all got turned. You try to open and it is all rotten because of the waters and everything that is within the arcades. Therefore, people wanted to know, are my shoes worth 150 million still okay, or are they expired? Can I access them and take them to the suburbs? Can I vend them where the retailers were allowed to operate outside the central business district? If you have all this list endlessly coming from traders complaining, then you have no audacity to say we remain closed. If there was a listening ear to mitigate the losses that people are going through, maybe you would say, let us wait and see. But this also comes amidst when Kasita has just lost a full chairman debate. Therefore, nobody is now doubting among us the business community that COVID kills. But what it does not kill, is it the disease that somebody has been treating for 15, 20 years, and each week is using either 100,000 or 50,000 to buy the medicine, and he can no longer take even a tab? Is that person going to survive? That one is going to die of diabetes, of high blood pressure, and the other ailments that people are suffering from. And they have no more access because they are not working. All that is also on the side. So, as Kasita, when we combined the factors, we said to the task force, and we even went to Parliament and reassured them, the problem that we have is not us. The problem we have currently is because of government vaccinating as few people as possible. Whatever has to be done under the 42 days, I have not seen health center 3s, health center 4s at our villages while we are home seated. Anybody coming to tell us there is a vaccination somewhere, please go and get vaccinated. While we were home, we were watching European Cup. And the playgrounds were open fully. People were full to capacity in Wimbledon. This means that a solution is already gotten in some other places.
Yes, Mr. Sechito, yes. Well explaining that. And of course, we know that vaccination is the hope. Yes. But also government says they are tight.
Yes.
Because much as they have the money to purchase,
yes,
those countries you're talking about already made orders, and getting the vaccine is very hard.
Yes.
Now, it comes back to you, the traders. That is having your businesses under proper SOPs, that is standard operating procedures. But then history has proved you wrong. That even when they opened up and said arcades have washing facilities, let people be masked, let's social distance, traders, I'll talk about Kampala, downtown, failed to ensure that people adhere to the SOPs.
Yes.
This didn't work.
This is Kampala, the capital city of Uganda. When Kampala is coughing, the rest of the country is sneezing. Everybody runs to Kampala to survive. The population that is in Kampala during days approximately 4 million people. How do you think this is easy to control? We tried. You remember before the chairman passed on, Hamisi Chigundu, RCC, and the entire team, the Kampala District Task Force, combined and we saturated the microphones, flyers, we saturated the leafleters to the border riders, to the tax operators, to the trading community and the all leadership, telling people to distance, telling people to wear a mask, telling people to use sanitizer, telling everybody to know that corona kills. But because of the population that is within Kampala during the day, we were overwhelmed. Now, we agreed, let's go into a lockdown, undisputedly. We started an immediate program because the president said from midnight to night. We did not enclose snakes or rats. These are human beings who had to be listened to. It would be very easy to be under lockdown and under guidelines and a specific control. Some of these businesses would be accessed for only people to pick their products, so that people are not now suffocated. You look at the magnitude, the force I was almost late here by 10 minutes if I was not careful. Every road they are stopping pedestrians, stopping border riders, and even people with documentation. If you insist, they beat you up. Why do you think these people come and they persistently receive the caning from police, and even the following day they come? Because they cannot survive. There is no loophole that was provided for people to survive, and even when we petitioned, nobody is minding about it. People think we are the same level of the planners on the National Task Force. Those people have never slept hungry, so they don't know what some people are going through. You sacrifice 10,000 to one gentleman, a person. Somebody thanks you millions of times because he was dying. I'm an ordinary citizen, but the calls I receive from the vendors, women, men, and men of repute, that they are dying at home, you cannot bear any longer.
Yes.
Therefore, that's why we say we have to open whichever the way. Let us have control. If we even told the National Task Force when we attended before the closure, we told them Kasita has membership of over 250,000 members countrywide. The borders are in millions. The taxi operators are in thousands, tens of thousands. We told them, please, let us get security that is particular. Let us be allowed to point at the people that are law-breaking. So that when I point at the shop owner who is misbehaving and is likely to cause us problems, there and then that shop is closed. When you call the police says, my friend, I don't want to intervene. This is the National Task Force. Do you want me to call Musenero to come and close the shop? So there was no set agenda that the border people would have specific police people and the other security personnel, so that we direct at the wrongdoers to avoid the lockdown. What prevents government from working from the same main associations around, so that the wrongdoers, their actions do not go to everybody around? So everybody is suffering, yet it is a few who are misbehaving. Are we in control? So this is what we are asking the National Task Force. You are closing all of us. Do you want to mean that all our cases did not provide provisions? Do you want to mean that all borders did not adhere to the standard operating procedures? How about tax operators?
Sachito, to what magnitude did they? Because we can talk about what happened. And fortunately, the president is to speak tomorrow, so we don't know the way forward. Either he's going to lift or whatever the decision would be. But we must, one thing that is very clear is the business community failed to abide by the SOPs. And then does that then warrant reopening? Because COVID has not gone. Infection rates have not reached 5% of maybe what we would recommend for reopening.
There are people who eat when they have worked by that day. You want them to stay home because you are closing. Now, tell me, if I went home hungry and I must appear tomorrow to get my family to feed, what was the preliminary arrangement done by government before the closure or even after the closure? You had them pronounce that business people are rich, and most of them did not get the Nabanja money, as it is so called.
Let me remind our viewers that please you can be part of topic of discussion by sending in your views and your opinions regarding that topic. And I think I just have one person here, and I'll read this message. He says, this is Denson. Mr. Sekito is right. Kampala is the backbone of Uganda when it comes for our economy over the economy of Uganda. The other is saying, hello, thank you so much, Sechito, for representing us very well. Unfortunately, no name. And of course, I also have one. I am Melissa. The government should know that even children in towns are suffering and cannot conduct. Okay, Melissa was talking about still the same issue.
This is what I was telling you. Our hands are tied. We have tried every civil and diplomatic means to approach government for mitigations. I've told you what the ruler is doing. I've told you what the Ministry of Finance and all the new regulations that are increasing the taxes.
I saw you call for postponement of the new taxes for the next 2 years.
Because this is what we think. Who knows when COVID will go? If COVID goes earlier, so much the better. That's why we said, can we be paying as we were? At least for 2 years as we monitor the situation. Some people have even given stimulus packages. People who lost
But
goods.
government came up with stimulus packages.
Where?
But when I saw you meet as a Kasita,
Yes.
you were almost criticizing everything that government put
I
in
am
place.
telling you.
Uganda Development Bank has monies there.
Can you mention for me 2 beneficiaries?
I'm not a trader.
You are a journalist.
I'm a journalist.
If
you are a member of the
I
association,
can mention
should be knowing
to you,
better.
I can mention to you that the money and the way it is put in the UDB, there is no ordinary citizen that can access that money.
Haven't you positioned your traders, your members, Kasita, to benefit from this opportunity?
Personally, I'm a professional accountant. I have helped some business people to develop, some people to develop proposals to the UDB. We don't know the criteria. You only read about who have succeeded in newspapers. Big companies are the only one who's accessing money that was provided to stimulate the economy. Does it mean that people like the one who's that we are mentioning, I don't want to go into people's companies and open them, but it was public notice, it was issued, the list was issued in the New Vision. You saw no ordinary citizen got the money. Supernational companies are the ones that benefited. Are they the only ones that suffered because of COVID? Therefore, we need to localize some of these arrangements that the government has put as stimulus packages. Let us put clear guidelines that to qualify, you fill this form, my taxi compliance history, my company, my TIN number, my business before, so that you send these lists to the different associations that own these people for verification. Then money be given to them, even if it is not a grant, but it is a soft loan which you return without interests. People will recover. But now you put money in the UDB, very sophisticated people that are drafting the proposals, and you need to pay them to do that. I have tried it, and none of the people I have helped have gone through. Not that I don't know what to do, but because there are people to decide who to get this money. This is not a secret. We even told the members of parliament, let them go to UDB. Let them ask for the list of all people that asked for the stimulus package money. And they will be surprised that who succeeded. So that one is out.
Finally, Sechito, from me, all that you've talked about,
yes.
There's one question that comes to my mind. A body like Kasita is
yes.
very vital.
Yes.
Because you handle this country's economy.
Yes.
50% of our economy relies
70
on,
in Kampala.
In Kampala.
Yes.
That is the truth.
Yes.
Then why are you sounding like you're being sidelined and left out in all these initiatives aimed at uplifting or even opening the lockdown?
I told you before, and I'm repeating this. Kasita refused to accept the political patronage. We want to do things in the open arena. Let us set the agenda public. How interventions are made, we don't want it to go there because we know General Sale, because we know the president, we know the president's wife. No. We want to treat the country as a same country where we know that whoever does not qualify under such ABCD arrangements or requirements will not get the money. So Kasita becomes weak because you are always advocating for everybody to be treated equally. Yet this country at times needs political patronage for which we have refused to succumb. You have seen people who go and they camp in Igulu waiting for General Sale to manipulate him, and he facilitates only those. How about the others that cannot travel to Gulu over the same? Kasita will not do that. We want it to go public, whether through parliament, whether through local authorities, whether through councils, and we say the government is looking at people that have suffered during this pandemic. Bring evidence that we suffered this, we are working this, this is what we need. Then we involve the local citizenry, the local system, the local councils, and the local associations. These people know each other. That's why in Kasita we can even afford to give what we call character loans to our people, because we know them. Even other associations know their groups. But now you involve highly sophisticated people. Look at the process of giving about the 100,000 shillings. If we went into that, you would just hate it the more. So,
well, Sechito, let me read about 2-3 messages, and then we'll be ending it at this. Here I have, good morning, UBC. Okay. Well, someone said the unfair representation on the task force makes it hard to think about ordinary persons because they know nothing about hunger, poor health services, education, and so on. Thank you, Mr. Sechito. At least I have heard someone talking about exact what we are going through. All those so-called planners do not know what we are going through.
Thank you.
They are all equipped and they do not know what it means to sleep hungry or without anything. Then, hello, I am Lesato Masabo from Manafa. Mr. Sechito is right. The government called for the lockdown without any solutions to the problems people are facing, especially the business community. Well, let me end.
I think you hear the voice of the people is the voice of God. I did not call people in Manafa. I did not call people from wherever they are to watch and tell us what they are feeling.
In a minute, let me have your last remarks. In a minute.
My last remarks is let us remain calm, ladies and gentlemen, Ugandans. Let us pray that the president accepts to open, even if it is gradual opening, but something odd opening must happen. Otherwise, people are going to die in the houses more than they would even die of COVID-19. I thank you.
Well, thank you, Yisa Sechito, who is the spokesperson of Kasita Uganda, a body that brings together traders in this country. We await for the president's speech, and that will determine greatly the way forward of this economy and the lives of the people. But don't forget that whatever it is, your life matters most. Because you can have your shop closed for the last 42 days, but it's very hard for you to close the casket of your loved one forever without knowing if it will ever be open, because that will be the last bye-bye. Let's respect shops, let's stay calm, let's be patient, prioritize life and acts of kindness to one another. Have a lovely day. God bless you. I'll leave you with Ruben to take you through sports updates. Then later, we shall have Good Morning Uganda.